morning, guys. Welcome. How y'all doing today? So, welcome to Through the Eyes of an Empath. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you slept well. Today, I have a very important topic to cover, and it's concerning your life and how it's one thing to make a wrong decision or to commit to a decision about your spirituality, um, your path, your daily decisions based on you and yours, you and your children, just you. That's one thing. But when you decide to invite people into your life, whether it be for professional purposes or whether it be for romantic purposes or whether it be for a job, hold on one second. Or whatever it be, making the decision who we invest our time in is so very important because it can change the whole outcome of our life. If you make a decision religiously, uh, the more you study, the more you can sort of go towards a different path. The more God shows up in your life, the more conviction you get in your heart. But when you put someone new in your life, in your daily life, in your ear, well, sometimes they're strong convictions, sometimes they're strong opinions, sometimes their perception of things that you might have never considered. Be like, wow, that's a fresh perspective. I never thought of that. And it's not that you're a weak minded person, it's just simply like if you never met anyone white before, and then all of a sudden you meet somebody white and they talk, they seem very much the same. Be like, wow, I had a totally different perception of what white people were like based on what's on TV. But once they're around you, you're like, that's a fresh perspective. And then so it challenges everything you've learned before about that perspective. So you change your mind about it. So, in the same token, someone who's shedding light on things that you never believed in, never thought of, never would even consider, in the same token, that could stand as well, right? Well, in these two extreme instances, two of many that we have all seen before, but just two that I'm bringing into focus today, from one extreme to the next. One being on romantic basis concerning a grandmother, someone who was very involved in the church, the same uh, Baptist believing, Church of God in Christ believing, Methodist believing churches that a lot of us have been raised in, sitting in ourselves. This is a very giving woman, a very forgiving woman based on what her family had to say about her. And based on just the few seconds that I was able to go over this report, she seemed like a very balanced minded woman. But who she chose as a romantic partner really spoke more about who she was than everything else. And the position she chose in choosing this partner and not letting the family members know what he was incarcerated for, this also tells a lot more about her than everything else. So I'm going to bring her into focus and then we'll be right back and discuss it, okay? You know what? That's what I don't like. They always playing with me. I don't like how they play with me so much. Any other time. Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm about to say. I'm about to say any other time it'll be right here. Okay, let's go. Let's. Okay. That is the question nobody's been able to answer. But if you read slowly, the answer might start with one word: her faith. Deep, unshakable, stubborn faith. The kind that doesn't just sit in a church pew on Sunday morning. The kind that looks at the worst kind of person and still sees something worth saving. And that faith is what most people believe led her to David Brinson. Nobody knows exactly how they met. What we do know is that Stephanie knew him before 1996, which means she walked into whatever this was with her eyes wide open, and she stayed. They started as friends. She would visit. They would talk. They would read the Bible together. She pushed him to go back to school. She pushed him to be better. She saw a version of David Brinson that 4 murder convictions said did not exist. And somewhere between the prison visits and the phone calls, she fell in love with him. At some point, they made it official and got married. Her son Armand didn't even meet David until around 2016. By then, his mother had already been carrying this relationship for nearly 2 decades. But he trusted him eventually, trusted him enough to let his own 3-year-old son visit the prison. The little boy called David Brinson, Grandpa. That is how far Stephanie's faith in this man reached. But before we go any further, you need to know who David Brinson actually was. Because Stephanie's story only makes sense when you understand the man she chose to love. David Brinson was only 18 years old when he decided to rob a man he believed was a cocaine dealer. It was the night of June 12, 1990. Game 4 of the NBA Finals was on, the Detroit Pistons against the Portland Trail Blazers. Robert Marks, a 59-year-old retired tavern owner, had gathered 3 of his friends at his garage apartment on South Burnside Avenue in Los Angeles to watch the game together. Just 4 men, a Tuesday night, a basketball game. Then David Brinson showed up with a gun and 2 accomplices. They tore that apartment apart looking for drugs and money. What they found was a small wrap of marijuana. That was it. That was all that apartment had to offer. And when David Brinson realized his plan had failed, he made a decision that would cost 4 men their lives. He lined them all up face down on the bedroom floor and shot every single one of them, execution style. Robert Marks, 59 years old, a retired tavern owner. Jean McCullers, 28 years old. Celadino Ligtas, 33 years old. William Terry, 27 years old. 4 men, one night, for a bag of marijuana. In 1993, a jury convicted him on 4 counts of special circumstance murder. He was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms, without the possibility of parole. He walked into that courtroom at 23 years old, and never walked out free again.
He has been behind bars ever since, and that is the man Stephanie Dowells called her husband. Now let's talk about Stephanie. People who knew her will tell you the same thing without even thinking about it. She was the glue. Not just a mother, not just a grandmother, the kind of woman that a whole family organizes itself around without ever being asked to. The kind of presence that makes a room feel different when she walks in. Her family called her Stevie. She was a mother of two, a grandmother of six. She lived in Inglewood, California, with her son Armand, his wife Natalie, and their 3-year-old son, a little boy she absolutely adored. Her daughter in law Natalie said it best. Stephanie was always a forgiving person, that no matter who someone was or what they had done, she would find the good in them. She couldn't help it, it was just who she was. But here is the thing that stops you in your tracks. Her own son Armand, the man who lived with her, who trusted David enough to bring his 3-year-old child on prison visits, had no idea that David Brinson had been convicted of murdering 4 people. Stephanie never told him. Not once. Her GoFundMe described her as someone who had dedicated her life to uplifting others. Through her faith, through her optimism, through the connections she built with everyone around her. That was Stephanie. But while Stephanie was busy believing in this man had already shown the world exactly who he was. More than once. Armand would sometimes overhear his mother and David arguing on the phone. He brushed it off. Couples fight, especially when one of them is behind bars. But what Armand did not know, what none of them knew, was that inside that prison, David Brinson had already been flagged. Flagged as suicidal. And nobody told Stephanie.
What did you know about David Brinson? And were you ever concerned about Stevie going inside the prison walls to spend time alone with him in an enclosed space that's unmonitored?
I mean,
I'm going to stop it right there. Now, what happened next is she went for a conjugal visit with her husband and he murdered her and he strangled her to death. Then, when they had the conjugal visit, they very well knew that he was suicidal. They were not, they did not have to give her that information. That was his private information, even though she was his wife. He was a ward of the state. That was the state's property. And um, when she had her conjugal visit, she was not allowed to take her phone into the room or the space with them, and it was supposed to be an overnight visit. Well, she had no guards around, no nothing around. She trusted him with her life, and it cost her life. Now, you got to remember, leading up to this, she had been making visits over time. She had been bringing her family around this person, and she did not tell them who he was. I'm sure they asked what he was in jail for, and for them not to know murder, of all things, taking the 3-year-old baby in there, you know, um, what if what if that was unsecured space when he's suicidal? When you're suicidal, you feel you have really nothing to lose. You know, you're not in a good headspace. It takes a lot of work to come out of that space. But to be feel that way and to already be someone who has taken lives, that is a whole nother story. That is a whole nother avenue. And so that is what happened because of her choice. Now, you see her in her party dress. We don't know if she's been working out. Some people don't, you know, want to be built like that. Some people want to feel comfortable in their moo. They're not trying to work out like that. They just want to be a comfortable person who like eat what they want or whatever, and and they just feel comfortable just being regular, just not, you know, we're all regular, but themselves themselves is just not that kind of person. You're just not like that. And that's cool if that's not what you want to be, because we all have what we want to be. But she may have decided to work out, hey, I'm a grandma, I'm a bad grandma. She could have been That could have been her birthday or her anniversary, but they keep posting that one dress based on what happened to her. They keep posting it like as if that's who she was based on what happened. And out of all of her giving, and even in this report, um, this is a 20-minute report, and it's telling a life story of two different people. But even in this, it shows where she did different fundraising and stuff. She did different stuff for people that had nothing. She was able to raise get wheelchair, both motorized and regular, for people who needed wheelchairs. Out of all of her accomplishments, all of her time serving for church, all of her everything, her life is now summed up to this one choice she made. And this is what will be her legacy. This is what people will talk about every time her name is brought up. This is what, even during and after the funeral, this is what people will think of. Like, well, it's a tragic situation, but it's always going to be a but in there. Well, I'm glad that the baby is okay. I'm glad that it wasn't when the baby was with her. And I wish she would have told somebody. I wish, then it would be all these questions and seeing her in a negative light for all that she did, and why she wouldn't be honest. As a church going woman, it brings so much to mind. And see, who you decide, it's one thing to say, you know what, I see the best in people. I see the best in people. Um, but you see all the obvious in people too. You bring to light what's the best about them, bring that to their attention, but you don't put yourself in a situation, if the worst in them is overweighing the best in them. You're not going to put a child molester around your children because he's a good man. I'm seeing the best in him. Yeah, but that was 20 years ago. I don't care. It don't matter. What's in a person comes out of a person. Yeah, but that was just their little cousin, and he was 18 and they was 15. I don't care. That's horrible. And so that's just one instance of an extreme instance of who we decide to bring in our lives, and how much of a difference they can make in every way, even in our afterlife, even in the way we exit here, even in all of our good doings, even in, and forget what people think about how she, was. You know, um, it's not a good thing to be a liar. It's not. The word talks against liars. It says, you're like your father, the devil, who is a liar. And I'm not saying that she's like the enemy, but I am going to say that if anything should be revealed, something like this should be revealed. It's one thing to be tell a white lie and you sugarcoat and stuff like, well, yeah, you look. How's this dress look on me? You look nice. I wouldn't get have that color if I was you, but just tell me it looked bad. It looks bad, you know. But something this extreme, life changing, If you want to risk, your life, if you want to be affiliated with that type of person who would, uh, it was no reason for him to do that in the first place. It wasn't those type of stakes. It wasn't that type of, what I'm saying? What kind of demons you have in you to do something like that? You know, I can even see if somebody came in your home, two people came in your home, and you just, you wasn't aiming for the legs, you wasn't trying to hold them till the police got there. You was frightened, and you just did them both. You just shot for the head, and that was it. I could see that better than I could see, you know. But that's even extreme for that for me. But more so if it's one person. That'd be extreme if it's one person. But like, you should have been a leg slap them and then hold them at goal point, or something. But maybe they have. But anyway, there's no telling what we'll do in the middle of a situation, but to go in to hurt somebody, go in with ill intentions. And, it's just so much to think of concerning this. And so it's just something that I really wanted to bring up. That's one instance, and that's in a romantic sense. So right now, I'm about to get ready to go into uh, someone who we all knew. When this story came out, I was very interested in it. And this is only a kid who had one movie. I wasn't even interested in karate, but Sheila E was in it, and you know, it was a corny movie. It was about karate, but the kid was real cute, and all the girls liked him when I was young. I was about his age when this came out, or no, I was younger, but this would be something that we all would be interested in. You know the boy from Enter the Dragon? We was wondering whatever happened to him. He was just a dynamo. And he even I'll let I'll let the picture tell it because I stopped it right at the man. I stopped it right at the part that it'll tell it. It'll tell it itself. Let's see here. I'll plug this in so that This reminds me of Cassie with Puff. She had it all. She could have did everything on her own. She did not need him. But the moment she chose to work with him was the moment that changed her life forever. Now, even if she wanted to come out, and even if she was very successful, it would still be hinged on people feeling like it's because they know her through that situation. And and with this situation, everybody knows if he would have chose somebody who was, let's just say, after he fell out with Barry Gordy, it would be easy for Barry Gordy to close to blackball him. We're not gonna say that's what happened, but we can definitely say that if he never wanted him to work again, he would never work again. That's how well connected Barry Gordy was. And we have heard many stories, allegedly. So, but we're not going to get into that. But I'm just going to say that you can be headed straight to the top by yourself. You can have everything going for you, and the people around you can sort of make you feel like you ain't got it going on, or whatever they make you feel like, or whatever. But it's something in you that knows that you are ambitious and that you're headed in a certain direction. And you could feel your self-esteem can be low based on the people you have in your circle at that time, but you have a lot of life ahead of you. Um, of course, we're going to all feel that we have a lot of life ahead of us. We're not going to be thinking that something terrible is going to happen. We're all going to be looking at, us having a future ahead of us, you know, depending on what kind of life you're living and who you have around you. But with that said, when Cassidy, when Cassie was sitting at the table with Puff, he said, he said himself in an interview that she lit up the room. And she was only, what, 14, 15, something like that? Or she was before, it was before she was 18. I'm always bad with ages, but when somebody's under 18, I just see them sort of like as a child minded, sort of, kind of, because even if they've been through a lot, it's still only so much perception you can have as a child. So, but he saw her at the end of the table. He said he saw a light at the end of the table. He saw endless possibilities, but I'm sure that it wasn't just him who saw that in her. And she went for the whining and the dining and the big name and the big stars. And it didn't come out until later, even now. We're just seeing that Mary, she has to tour. As she ain't trying to tour. She has so many years in the game, so many hits, that she should be just sitting back collecting, maybe making her a perfume deal or makeup deal, hair deal, anything, just chilling and just, oh yeah, you could put my name on it. But she has to tour because all of her money has gone to Bad Boy instead of to her, because of the contract she signed, because of the bad deals, because she trusted someone. She trusted the wrong person. She let someone into her life at an early age. And from the very tip top of it, from the very first deal, she had stuff to pay back by the time it came to the next deal. And who gonna buy her out from Puff as the kind of manager that we know him to be now? Who gonna be trying to? Nah, I want Mary. I'll buy her out her contract. Oh, you will? After, as we see from Cat Williams and as we see from Jaguar, that people in the industry know people business in the industry. Just like we know our friends from being raised in the neighborhood, we know all their business. And then when something really jumps off with them, when they hit fame status or when they pass away or whatever, and then they scour the neighborhood asking questions about them, then you hear different stuff that everybody know about them. Well, she was quiet, but she did run away a lot. And you find out back information that everybody know in the neighborhood. And it's the same for stars. They know all the information in Hollywood. It's a well kept secret about Busta Rhymes, about, different. When you hear their name come up and you now starting to hear stuff that came out about Beyonce, about, as soon as you say that and you hear something about rumor, then you know what I'm talking about. And I don't like that I say it. About, whenever I bring their name up, as soon as I say rumor and their name, you put it two and two together. That's the same way with the Hollywood scene. They know each other's business. They know the Will and Jada. They know the background about these people, that at least the rumors that's going around about these people. And the same with these people. Here, all he did was have a sit down with Berry Gordy and decide that he may work with Berry Gordy. And here it is, um, after this first movie, everybody wanted to work with him. You see, Cindy Lauper was like really big at for her time. She was very big, like Meg The Stallion would be, but with clothes on. I mean, with more clothes, and more. She was like in Madonna's. They was both very famous at the same time. She was in it, and she was hard to get because she was working under Prince, and Prince didn't. He was very closed off. It wasn't like it is now with social media, and even if he was alive now, I really know he would not be on social media. He would just maybe if he posted something even now, people would be like running to see what it was he posted. Like this is somebody who ain't gonna be posting because he's very mysterious like that. And so for she to be up under him and to be in the movie, that just goes to show how many people was willing to work with this newcomer. He had the look. And in this clip, I mean, you look him up, Bruce Leroy. People make jokes about that. I didn't even know that was his name in this movie. I thought the Wayans brothers came up with Bruce Leroy. But that's funny. But it's a corny movie, but you still want to watch it based on the stars that's in it. And then Kumo D was in it. What no? Yeah, Kumo D. Was that Kumo D or I forget, somebody, it was a new rapper, and rap was just getting started at the time, where Fat Boys and stuff was out. I don't know if they was in it, but it was just something that everybody went to the movies to see. And we didn't care it was a corny movie because everybody was in it. It was entertaining. It was a blockbuster for us, and we was waiting to see it come back out. But now you look at people who has come into your life or has been in your life, and that you decide to make uh it comes a time when you're starting to come into your own, and at that time who you allow in your life really stands out because um you 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 as a chosen one, you're already, like Diddy said, as far as have that light in you or whatever, the light at the end of the table. People want to be around you. I know that they might come to really like sort of either really like you and really love you, and y'all have a really great love, or they come to either that or really resent you based on the fact that um, it looked like you're trying too hard. But in the meantime, you have already accepted them for them. And the things that they feel like they have to compete and or whatever or feel like they got to keep up, it really makes you feel sad when you find that out because it's just like you love them exactly how they are. You just really crazy. That's the reason why you like them so much. It's because they cool, they down to earth. The same things that Whitney Houston loved about Bobby Brown when she was supposed to be the it girl and she was coming from church and she had signed with this big, big production and she was wearing an evening gown, singing her songs, getting big movies. The thing she liked most about Bobby Brown, if he started changing it, was the fact that he was, just himself. He was just, yeah, I'm a bad boy, yeah. Or, yeah, I am who I am. Take it or leave it. That's what she was so crazy about. He wasn't trying to change who he was. He wasn't trying to, and she probably saw all that already. She was probably worse than him. It was just maybe as far as worse than him. I love myself some Whitney Houston, but I'm saying as far as more knowledgeable in different areas than him because she was with Robin when she had got with him. That don't mean that and from what they said, he was more into smoking and drinking, and she was more into sniffing. That's what was said allegedly, and so what I'm saying is, you know, uh, people that's really held close, us as pastors' kids or church kids, we have seen a lot more. It seemed like because um, when you're the kid that is uh, so strict on, it's just like you feel like you always missing something. So when you have a chance to get out and see what it is everybody else is doing, you sometimes you ain't gonna tell people, and you don't know when to stop. You don't know that everybody really ain't, it's not really what you thinking, it's not really all what you thinking. So when you get out, you just be trying to explore and you go further than everybody. And yeah, so it's like it's really so important who we decide to have in our lives, in our circle, around our family, around the people we love, around the people we care for. You know, um, imagine somebody doing a crime of being a uh, um what's that called, a molester. Let's saying they uh they out and they're on the list or whatever, but you're dating them and they don't live in your neighborhood, and you have them around your family, and now they know where different family members live. And even if y'all break up, maybe some of the family stay in touch with them, because that's how some people, how uh, like, especially with us empaths, how a lot of times in narcissistic circles anyway, they link up with people just because they have in common that they don't like you. And sometimes that's how it goes, and sometimes people don't care one way or another. Everybody not into the uh against this person, against that person. Everybody not doing that. But I'm saying, if they was, then that puts those people in around somebody like that. Like, you mind watching the kids tonight? You mind, you know? It's just like they trust based on you bringing them around the school people. They, of course, you wouldn't bring around a predator, of course not. You're not going to be like, do they have a background? What is their background as far as children are concerned? You're not going to ask those kind of questions simply because of who brought them around. And so that's what the Lord brought to my attention, was how big of a deal it is who we decide to put in our life, to bring around our people, to let in our ear. A person can change your whole perception, even about God. And it could be at a critical time in your life where you're coming off drugs or want to come off drugs or ready to change your life. You're ready to have a family. You're ready to stop um, everything. And you can pick someone and have all the intentions to do the right thing. And you can even change your religion based on the fact the way you've been doing things have not served you. So just because of that reason, you could change your religion and say, okay, well, I know if we have children together, then I know that this is what way they're going to go. I see they have such a positive, structured life. And so I wouldn't mind them going that way. I would trust it going that way. And so you could do all that and then come into a life with someone, and then, you know, the people that you're around can hurt your children or something, and then they'll change your whole life forever. And, you know, you could be around people you don't know their real names because of the Muslim names or whatever. You're not going to be like, what is your government name? What did your mother name you? You're not going to be saying that, and everybody know each other by even you. Who you put yourself around. It could even change how people see you. Why you would choose that? Why would you do that? Why you would, and then you could be living with that guilt for the rest of your life, or, a great part of your life. It could stagnate you. Some people live with different things for the rest of their lives based on who they let in their life. This guy, he let someone who was very, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? But see, this guy, when you hear about his life, he had a mother who started the first restaurant, a soul food restaurant in, I forget where. And his father was in the home, and his father was like, I forget, but he was like Asian or something. His mother was a different, so he had a very beautiful, a different look completely. And so he came from money already. So of course, he's not going to be the kind of person who go into a meeting and then you just going to bum rush him like, okay, well, if you do this, I'll let you, we're going to be a, no, we negotiating. They going to expect real negotiations. So easily, if you're not in a desperate situation like most people at that time, as a newcomer, naturally, you could be blackballed easily and stop your whole career. But like I said, he came from wealth and money, and some people, like they say, who was that in the movie with Nia Long? Lawrence Tate. As it comes out now, after all these years, Lawrence Tate, he was on the map. Everybody wanted to see everything he played in got was was the bomb. And all he had to do was make one meeting with the wrong person, and his career came to a abrupt stop. And now all people can say is, well, he didn't sell his soul. Yeah, okay, he did sell his soul, but it wasn't fair that his whole career had to end That's why I wouldn't even get started in that type of business because you do a lot. You have to go further than you're willing to go just in order to stay in the loop. And it's just not room on a narrow path for all that nonsense, the stuff you would have to go through, and or situations you have to put yourself in, and it's really coming back down to us regular people, us common day, uh, that is not a celebrity status, or that's not an extreme situation of seeing a convicted uh, person who have sent away several people that wasn't trying to hurt them for no reason. Just just terrible just mean, just evil. At that moment that had demons raging. And I just don't understand what the connection could be with someone who is in the church, which y'all would have to talk about so much. I could see you having hope in people, but and see, just like I'm saying that, and she passed away, and see, these are the type of things you don't want to talk about people after they pass away. But this is stands as an example. Just like Joni Lamb, she made herself an example. She made herself an example because of all of her life that she lived, and it's supposed to be a righteous light. And then what came out about the son and the son's wife, and where the child had been touched, and she made excuses for the person, and they even lied and said that the person, her husband, lied and said that the person had a lie detector test done and hadn't had no lie detector test done, and let that person back around the child and got further abused, and trying to take the son's inheritance away. And as soon as she tried to take his inheritance away, because they didn't want to say something nice about her husband that he think that she was cheating on his father with, as soon as that had came, it's just like um they when she passed away, it was so much that had came out that it's just like, for all of her life, everything that she did do well, all the way down to people speaking against them doing the PPP loan, because it's tax free for the churches. It brought so much shame on the whole network because of who she let in her life. It was downhill from, they hadn't been married for, it had been under 2 years, I know. But how much damage was able to happen? And how much judgment came on them based on, um, you see, it was judgment. And she tried to take his inheritance away from him, and they was living a godly life, and from what had been displayed. And it's just like some things, it's just like the last straw. You're not going to keep, God talks to us. He convicts our hearts when we have been with him. It had to be a point where she was with him. But what has been revealed so much about so many people that are in the church. I'm not going to be taken up for the church like I used to, because there's so much hurt that has come to people from the church. But for the people who are right in the church, who do the right thing and are going for the right reasons, and lift us up in prayer, and I know it had been the prayers of my mother and my grandmother for many years that I feel that lifted me up. And you know, um, I really am grateful for that. And so for people who are and do for the right reasons, then I can only say um, um, that's a beautiful thing. But for the people who aren't there for the wrong reasons, it's horrible. And so all that to say, we have to be careful who we allow in our lives. And at this time, that's why I don't date. I don't desire to date. It's so important for me to raise my son, um, and in a way of not having people in and out of my life. But God knows the time. And I mean, me like everybody else, I want intimacy. I want to be close to somebody. I wanna, cuddle and all that stuff. But it just is not. It's just not in my purpose for me for now. It's just me and God for now, and I'm very happy and content with that for now. And but if and when the time comes, then it's so much that is out here for us to do background stuff, and we can't just go by people's word, you know. I mean, it's one thing to have been to jail. Okay, that's okay. I mean, I could see you going to jail for drugs, selling drugs and stuff like that. You was trying to hustle. Okay. But when you went and you done hurt, I could see if somebody shot at you, you shot that, they got, that's one thing. I could see, uh, you got sent to jail because you had kilos of dope or whatever. So you got caught. You had guns. Okay, you got caught. Okay, that's hustle stuff. But we talking about you going for doing that. You didn't have to do that. Why? Why? Who is you to do that to somebody? That's horrible. And then she ain't tell nobody. That's horrible now. You hear me? That's horrible. I'm sorry. That I'm not sorry. But it's nothing funny about it. I'm really sorry that happened to her. That she would trust this man with her life. I mean, with no phone, no security, no nothing to walk in that conjugal visit to trust, well, to trust him to marry him. Marrying him makes him the second of kin, next of kin. Lord have mercy. I pray the Lord have mercy on her soul. And, you know, the family looked like they just pissed at her. They trying to have a GoFundMe, and people, it's like they don't have the kind of heart for her that she had for people. We got to be careful. We got to be equally yoked. We can't play with our soul like that. We can't play with our life like that. She got children and grandchildren. She loved her grandbaby. I know she had to love that little baby. She took him everywhere with her. And I would hate for my son have to go on without me, knowing I put my son and put myself in a situation like that. And he would have to go on without me because of that. So many more lessons to give him. It's one thing for God to say, okay, it's your time. And, it's just a clean period. And then, he's God's child before mine, and he's going to take care of him. But for me to take myself out or for somebody else to take me out because of a decision I made, that's devastating. Devastating. So, anyway, the reason of this talk today was just to think about how much is involved and how much is at stake. Even when you just decide to sleep with somebody, to link up, it could change your life forever if that condom break and they got AIDS, which is running rampant now. Forget getting burning. Forget Herman Kiefer, which was out when I was in Detroit. Forget getting gonorrhea or chlamydia, but they got AIDS, and it's running rampant. And you can contract that, and just like that, just sharing a needle. From what I understand, fentanyl now is a preferred drug. It's not where somebody get a burner bag and be like, "Oh, they tricked me. I thought I was getting crack." They be going to get the fentanyl. Be like, dang, get you so high, you die. Well, let me have the whatever it's called close by, where you punch it in your heart or whatever and wake you back up. Let me have that on hand because I'm about to get lit. I'm about to die up in here. That's how the bad enemy trick us when you out there on his territory. When you on his territory, all things, all things go. And it's a sad situation now. And yeah. So with that said, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am going to be putting up my PayPal um, under my account, and I'm going to put my email up because the Lord told me to say it, and I forgot what it is. I mean, I forgot my PayPal, but my email is Jeanette@gmx.com. It's two N's, JEANNETTE at gmail.com. If you ever want um, to contact me, um, the thing is, when you're not monetized, you can't even get a gift or something like that. But if you even want to just contact me, if you need an unbiased opinion about something or something, if the Lord leads you to contact me, then He told me to put out my email. So it's safe enough for me to do that. Um, I had it up one time on TikTok. So Jeanette@gmx.com. And I'll put up my PayPal, and for anyone who would like to donate to the ministry. Okay? You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the morning.